Good morning from Australia, everyone. Hope you're well. We're live. Coffee in hand, as always. It's 10 a.m. here in Australia. 6 o'clock, I think, Eastern time, and 3 p.m. on the West Coast. And I think maybe it's 9 o'clock in the UK, but I never get that one right. I should, because I'm English. Special one today. I've got a mail call of a heap of 2000 ADs, early 2000 ADs from basically the early numbers from say 5, 6. Some of the I'll give you a bit of background as to why there's not 1, 2, and 3 in there, but we'll go through that in a minute. I've also got a special guest today, Ricky. Let me just bring him on. This is Ricky from All Sorts of Words, everyone. A great YouTube channel I've been watching for a while. I've done a couple of live streams with him. The reason why I've invited Ricky today is because he has a special interest in 2018, and particularly one individual gentleman from Prog 2 or issue 2. They called them programs in the UK. But maybe I'll hand over to Ricky to give a bit of an intro in terms of his channel. And yeah, by all means, if you get a chance, go over, check out his channel. Give him a sub. That's what we all need. Ricky?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really excited. This is fun. So I do have a channel where I talk about comic books and comic book stuff. And I kind of fell in love with the filmmaking aspect of YouTube. So I love the comic stuff, but I fell in love with making movies. So I'm enjoying it more. So come watch movies if you want to have fun. Okay. So when I was a little kid, you can date myself. I didn't look up the dates because I'm lazy, but you can date me by this birthday. I was born in 85, and whenever Batman Forever came out, which is why I have my McDonald's Batman cup. This is from Batman Forever. The other side is the Riddler symbol in the sky. But that movie came out, and it was my birthday. It was coming out. It was July of my birthday, so you can tell how old I was. Pretty young, and my dad was like, I'll take you to go see any movie you want, anything you want. And I was like, Batman Forever. It's going to be Batman Forever. And he wanted to see Judge Dredd so bad. And he works a lot. And so not to get into it, but I did not have a great relationship with my dad. So this one memory is this is where I decide to keep the memory of him so I can enjoy him. But it's my birthday and I want to go see the movies, and I have chosen Batman. And he's really trying to twist my arm on this one. Be like, come on, you're Judge Dredd Stallone. You're going to love it. And I just I had no interest. And I'm like, Batman. He's like, here's the deal. Don't tell your mom, but we'll do both. We'll just go back to back. And so my birthday as a child being taken out of school was to go see Batman Forever and Judge Dredd in the same day. And so I have this Judge Dredd memory and my dad, and it's one thing in my head. And so So I want to learn more about Judge Dredd and this awesome movie character, but I know he originates in comics, and I want his comic so bad. I want a copy so bad because it's hard to find. So that it is hard to find.
Well, it depends on it. Yeah, in the US in particular, it's hard to find.
It is.
A lot of these I've got from the UK auctions, and it's been a little bit of a labor of love because they sort of pop. They're definitely on eBay. You can go and get them on eBay, but they're sort of stacked up in terms of price. But you can generally find lots at UK auction houses, and for the most part, they're sort of reasonably big runs. So this is probably the bit of background in terms of how this came about. This is a sort of mix of 2 different lots that I managed to pull together, and they were either issue 1 to 1, either wash 1 to 100, 2 to 2, 200, 100 to 200, vice versa. So I sort of peeled these 2 or 3 collections together, started off collecting the keys, but then moved to let's just get the whole run, because it is, the history of 2000 AD is fascinating. And specifically, everyone in the UK who read the magazine gets it, but I think in the US there's very little knowledge around some of these characters, where they came from, and it'll probably surprise you because some of these you'll probably recognize, but you had no idea where they came from, who they were, what their background was. So,
okay, I mean, and so these are kind of story collections, each book. So each book will have a couple stories in it, or is it the book is one giant story?
So the stories are essentially, you get it was a weekly magazine, the idea behind it was there was a company called IPC Magazines, and what they did was one of their editors saw that there was a whole bunch of science fiction films coming out. So they thought they'd jump on the bandwagon. They did war titles traditionally. So they had like titles like Battle Picture Weekly, Action, but very UK-based war stories. And again, same sort of thing. Coming out once a week, 4 or 5 stories with different characters, and they'd all run concurrently. So you would get different stories ending, starting, but these characters would tend to be the same. And so what they did is they created this, and it was a guy called Pat Mills who came up with the ideas and started to develop it. But this guy called Calvin Gosnell was the editor who originally sort of came up with the concept, but then Pat Mills developed it alongside a guy called John Wagner. And now those two, Pat Mills and John Wagner, critical in terms of developing Judge Dredd and what he became. So some of theirs, they were responsible for some of the key story arcs that came up. So
and Alan Moore came on when?
Alan Moore came on about 170, and he didn't do main stories to begin with. He did a lot of what they called Tharg Future Shocks, or one-off stories. So that's how he started. And I've actually got a load of progs here where you can see Alan Moore's work at an early stage. He did a lot of these sort of like one-off stories, and they were very much like miniature versions of like the Twilight Zone or something like that, right? Like that was the whole premise behind them. There were sort of twist endings that would happen.
Oh, okay,
and that's how he got started. And he had a couple of strips in here. I think one was Skiz, but that was after 300. But then he moved on to start doing stuff for Marvel UK, and also doing his own thing with the Warrior magazine, which is where V for Vendetta started, and Miracle Man started.
Oh, yeah. See, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, so that's and I mean, this is the thing. The beautiful thing about 2000 AD is it really kicked off a load of careers for people's names that you'll know now, right? Like Brian Boland, Dave Gibbons, Ian Gibson was in there, Kevin O'Neill, who went on to work with Alan Moore on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So all of these, this was almost like the incubator, if you like, for all of these creatives that sort of now have gone on to be massive in the US market in terms of the selling into the big two.
Yeah, so, I mean, but you had me at Brian Boland.
Yeah, Brian Boland was like so prolific in 2000 AD. It's you know, and the fact that he's also creator of Judge Death as well, in terms of like his artwork on that, like that whole storyline is just crazy, and just the way he rendered it was beautiful. But I always get Brian Boland mixed up with another guy, and I can't remember his name, but their style was very similar. But Boland's is just extra sharp, right?
I have my photo with him. I got to meet him. He was a very nice man.
He's great. I mean, again, these are the thing. The UK guys are pretty approachable and quite humble as well. That's the thing, because you know, it's not like. But then again, I think most creators are, right. Well,
because like a lot, like in reality, if you're not like a crazy narcissist, like you're a normal person Monday through Friday, 364 days a year. And then on this one day a year, you go to a building and you become a god for like 3 days, and people just fawn over you. And then you go back to the god. It's like you get to all the best parts of fame while still being able to go to Cumberland Farms in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Anyway, let me put some of these up. I mean, we've got a lot of books here, so I think it's probably good just to sort of go through them and then just chat as we come across key issues.
Of course. So like number one, right?
Well, I don't have number one with me, so this is where it gets a little tricky. So the background behind this is I've submitted 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3 is submitted, sitting at CGC right now. One of them those 3 just got graded. I've got another 3 of those getting graded right now. So they're not in this.
Right.
So this is literally from issue 4 onwards.
Okay.
So we'll go through issue 4 onwards. I mean, we can talk about. I have issue 2 here, Prog 2. This is the highest graded one I've got at the moment. So this is an 8.0. The one that I just submitted came back as 7.5. Has the stickers inside.
It's a blue label only if it has the stickers.
Correct. You'd get it qualified if it's you get the is it qualified or is it the green label? The green label, right?
Yeah, it'd be the green label.
Yeah. But yeah, this is with the stickers inside. I've got another one as well that's going to be going to grading. So we'll see how these turn out. But this is the one you really want. All collectors are looking for this one because this is the first appearance of Judge Dredd full strip. And you can see the back. It's actually that's
the best part. It's encapsulated, but you still get to see him.
Yeah, right at the last panel.
Skinny little guy.
Yeah, in that one he is. And there's a bit of a story as to why 2000 AD, why he didn't appear in issue 1. They were having trouble in terms of getting the creative team in place. And so they had to delay it to issue 2 because they hadn't got the styling just right. And so they moved it back to issue 2, put an ad in issue 1. So ads number 1's notable because it is A, the first issue, but then B, it's got the first appearance. So it's very much like the Wolverine.
Yeah, he's on like a motorcycle. It says like next week Dredd comes to town.
Exactly. So let me just bring this up. And we will make this. See, I'm starting to get StreamYards now. It's annoying, but I'm starting to get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll start off with issue 4. I'll just bring my notes up as well. I'm not seeing comments. Are you seeing comments at all?
I'm not seeing any come in, but I also can't see how many people are watching.
No, I can't see that either. So that's an interesting one. So in case if you are out there and you are watching and feel free to put something in the chat. We'd love to hear what you think of these. We may not see them, we may not be able to reply, but if you're there, welcome and thanks for joining us. So let me just bring this last piece up and then we're ready to go. So okay, so
my live streams always do better on recording anyway.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's always good to have these and just to publish it. So this is issue 4. So Prog 4. So this is second appearance of Judge Dredd. Oh no, third appearance of Judge Dredd. Not so much notable in here. It's got characters like Mac 1. The interesting one for you, Ricky, is that I don't know if you've heard of Dan Dare. I've
heard the name, but like, is this his first appearance?
No. So Dan Dare was someone that was carried over. They had the rights to Dan Dare IPC, and so they built the story originally, the issues around Dan Dare because he was and they moved him into the sort of futuristic setting. So they put him in hibernation and brought him out as this as not a new character, but sort of a reinvention of Dan Dare. And he was always the guy that was in the center strip, which is where they always had a color strip in the center. So he was like the flagship character, right? For 2000 AD. And it's interesting because you see over time he's completely subsumed by Judge Dredd over time. But yeah, this is issue 4. This one is issue 5. Now
I like that one. The big gorilla.
Big gorilla, and the reason why this is a key is this is the first cover appearance of Dredd, even if it's a tiny little postage stamp. I've got one of these in for grading at the moment as well, because obviously if you've got Judge Dredd on the cover, the first cover appearance, it's like that's one you'd want to get graded. And you'll see here, like literally you would get a different cover story told each time. Like it's whichever of the 4 or 5 strips that we're running, that would be the cover piece for that issue, right? So you'd always get 4 or 5 stories running, but then you'd get a focus on one particular cover, one particular one for the cover generally. Issue 6, issue 7. Again, you can see Dan Dare's front and center, so they really pushed Dan Dare.
Oh, that one's awesome.
This one is awesome, right? So the other thing that you get from 2000 AD, this was a story called Flesh, which was basically about a bunch of characters, cowboys that would time travel into the past, hunt dinosaurs for meat, basically.
Perfect.
For food. So a lot of the stuff, like I think Chronauts did something similar, Mark Millar's stuff. So I think, this idea of...
Hold on 1 second. They had a card game? A 2000 AD card game?
So I can show you this. So this is the other thing they do. They'd have these crazy free gifts that would be cut. Generally, you would have to cut them out. The vast majority of free gifts with this stuff. So again, this is why these are sort of tough to find, right? Because some of the kids would just like demolish these back covers, and that would eat into a Judge Dredd story. So you don't really want to do that, right?
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, I mean, it's always amazing when they like there's books that encourage children to cut them up and then like that they survived.
Yes. I mean, the Mother Value Stamps is a good example of that, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's
yeah.
But this one, yeah, they'd have loads of these little card games on them, and I've got a list, which we probably won't have time for today, but I've got a whole list of like all of the cutouts that they've got throughout all the issues.
Wow.
So I'll probably do a bigger video at some point, sort of breaking this down because there's so many to go through. This one's notable though. This is issue 8. Now this one's notable for this reason here. Judge Dredd removes his helmet, but they decided not to show it and censored it. And that's one of the few times in his whole history that he took his helmet off.
Huh. How many times? Like, is there a hard number?
My memory and recollection is that that it was done twice, right? Sorry, not done twice. No, sorry. Where you actually saw his face twice. So the first one was this series called, I think it was Dead Man, which was in around about the 500 or 600 Prog issues. Where there was this character called Dead Man who nobody knew who he was. And it's set in the Cursed Earth. And he's like this cowboy, scarred, mutilated face. And then it turns out at the end of that run, that's Dredd after he'd done the long walk. And he burnt his face, so you couldn't recognize his face. And then he goes back to Mega City 1. I won't give the story away, but he goes back to Mega City 1 for a reason and reclaims his title as Judge Dredd and starts going, comes out of retirement. You
should probably start like if we're gonna educate me and the people, we should probably start with like a general paragraph elevator pitch of like, what are we dealing with Mega City 1? What is this? What are the judges?
Well, the judges. So, I mean, this is an interesting one because I went through a bit of research, right? So the team at IPC originally, they had a lot of feedback from readers' letters that they liked this idea of anti-establishment characters. So they came up with this like brutal lawman idea. And it was a sort of culmination, like I think from memory, John Wagner. I can't remember. Let me just bring it up. So basically, they wanted a cop who was like Dirty Harry, but a bit more futuristic. So that was the sort of big idea. Pat Mills was like basically developing a horror strip at the time called Judge Dredd, Dread. And so they took the name for Wagner's lawman and pieced them together. And the character design was pulled together by Carlos Esguerra as well. So he went on to do a Spanish artist who went to do a lot of work for 2000 AD over the years. And I think Wagner gave him an advertisement for Death Race 2000. Okay. And so that's how the sort of look of these lawmen. Now, the background for Judge Dredd is he lives in this massive sprawling city built out from post the apocalypse, post the Holocaust, post the bomb going off. Most of North America is destroyed except for the coasts. Most of the world is destroyed, and there's various sort of pockets of these mega cities. And the one that he runs on the East Coast is the one that he's responsible for is Mega City 1, right? And there's multiple mega cities. There's 2 mega cities in the US. But basically, he's a lawman, and the judges are essentially allowed to dispense justice instantly. So they don't go to trial anymore. The judges dispense that law. So it's, if you've ever seen Demolition Man, if you've ever seen RoboCop, if you've ever seen Judge Dredd itself, that gives you a sense, right? It's like a single lawman who can make the decisions and basically dispense justice instantly. And they are overly harsh. Like in Mega City 1, for instance, you drop trash, you get 20 years in jail, right? And if you do, there's just extreme cases of, them coming down on people. So it's a very authoritarian landscape. But it's an interesting one because there's lots of crime as well, which is a fascinating piece. And there's lots of very strange, unusual crime. So that's probably a potted history. Did you want to add anything, Ricky?
No, I mean, honestly, that's just for someone who's like, what is this? Like, so it's a compilation of stories. The most popular of which is deals with the Judge Dredd universe and these hyper cops, and like kind of this cool 70s vision of what the future would look like. So like big chrome shoulder pads, big ray guns, incomparable monsters, cool stuff like that. So like I want to see more covers.
Yeah. We've just got Schwab in the house. Hey, welcome. You might have to get yourself a photo done, a sketch done by Schwab at some point. He does these sort of great sort of caricatures, faces of people on their favorite heroes. So,
oh, that's cool. So, Crypto the Super Dog, half furry.
Yeah, you could do that. Okay, back to the comics. So,
let's go.
Prog 9. This one had Harlem Heroes on the front. This is like a team. Basically, it's a basketball speedball game with jetpacks, and it was like this world championship piece, but it's sort of brutal sports game. That was one of the launch titles in Prog 1, but I'll probably touch on these as we go through. This Prog 10, notable because it's Judge Dredd's proper full cover. I've got a copy of this in for grading. Prog 11.
That's great.
The Mekon. Again, that was Dan Dare's nemesis. So he returned in this issue. The Mekon was a very strange character. And I didn't read a lot of Dan Dare, to be honest. Even when I was picking up 2000 AD, it was too clean cut. It was like Flash Gordon, but a little bit like...
I hate Flash Gordon.
Yeah. Prog 13 Tharg cover. This is one of those rare ones where you get the whole lot, all the characters on one page. Tharg was essentially the galactic editor, present, I think, from issue 1. And he'd sort of provide narrative to some of the features, what was coming.
The Watcher, for lack of a better.
He's like the Watcher, yeah, exactly. But they generally have the guy that you can see here. They'd have a guy in makeup dressed as Tharg for the most part. So it's
like a gray tone cover.
No, this one isn't. This. So sometimes you'd have a photo of Tharg. Sometimes they'd draw him, but they'd be able to have Tharg turn up at events and do stuff. So it was a fascinating thing, and still to this day, Tharg's going strong. And this is the interesting thing with this book is that they never expected it to run. They wanted to give it a futuristic title, but most of these magazines or comic books were not long lived, and we'll see that in a minute. So they didn't expect it to run to 2000 AD and keep going strong as it is today. So it's just a fascinating snapshot to think that, 2000 AD. When I was buying this off the rack, I was like, wow, that's so futuristic. What are we all going to be doing? And you'd imagine that these characters, these stories were happening in 2000 AD. So
I love this one on the left.
The Flesh one.
So I might be a Flesh fan. I really like these covers. Just giant monsters eating cowboys. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, this story, I've got to dig in a little bit deeper, but this story was always fun to me. And they had it in a few of the annuals when they came out. We'd have annuals, which are not your usual US annuals either. They would be like these hardbound books, and they'd have like new stories in them as well.
This is a racy cover.
Yeah, so there you go. So you've got
Yetis.
This is Mac, and again, you'd get the focus on a character on the front cover. Top thrill. So this is
Mac. My hyperpower is useless. What are these brutes trying to do with me? Oh my!
So yeah, there is some interesting stuff.
Okay. There's a Capitol building underwater. Great.
Another Mac 1. Yep. So we weren't afraid to sort of do some messed up stuff, and there's a
That's
few
sick.
issues here. Then this
Oh
is
yeah.
Flash, mutated.
Okay, I've
three.
just cemented my love for Flash. This is awesome. Now it's body horror. Oh, that's so cool.
So this is Pat Mills was editing at this point, and he handed over the reins to Calvin Gosnell, who was the guy who said, like, let's build this concept of these sci-fi magazines. So he took over at this point. Gosnell, by the way, was basically a fall guy in some of those Tharg the Mighty comedy photo strips they used to do. So all the team got involved in terms of building stuff out. Issue 18, very cool Judge Dredd cover. And you can see the sort of craziness of this, right? Like they grow like they're growing lawbreakers in Mega City 1.
And he's still thin back then.
He's still thin back then. He's not sort of like, he's getting there, but it's, he was always like Boland always drew him, not slim, but just, like this. Very
he's
built.
doing a lot more cardio than lifting.
Yeah. He's not like some of them draw him like this monstrous like character, but he's not. He's supposed to be a lean, mean fighting machine, right? Like,
okay, see, I'm in love with this one. Like, it tells a whole story. Like, it's so there's like a robot on the run, and it's called A Robot's Best Friend. He's holding his dog. Like that is a moment that tells you everything about the entire story. I adore that.
And it's a Brian Boland cover.
Oh, I adore that. I absolutely adore that. That is everything you need to know about that story. You're going to know from one picture whether or not this is for you, and that is for me. What number is that? I'm going to write that down.
That is Prog 19.
19.
Prog 19. Nothing else notable, but again, this is my point, right? Like these stories, you get these one-off little stories like this, and these would eventually morph into Tharg's Future Shocks, but we'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, you'd get great, and I think this is another Brian Boland cover.
Just do me a favor, just set that one aside so that before I leave, I can see it again. I am in love with that one. That's really great. Okay, more Brian Boland.
This is another Brian Boland cover.
When did he start?
I don't know. I need to go back and check.
So like for the audience, like I was trying to look up like what issue did Alan Moore start, and like I literally went through pages of internet and it wasn't like readily available. This information is difficult, so it is special that David's doing this to like try to catalog this. Nobody's talking about these books.
Well, I can tell you exactly when Alan Moore started, just before we moved on, because I actually did find it and did go through. So I'm just digging. So his first debut was in a Future Shock called A Holiday in Hell, which was in the 2000 AD sci-fi special published just prior to Prog 170 in, I think, the 1st of June 1980, right?
Okay.
So
80.
And 1980 was his first published work for 2000 AD.
Good decade for Alan Moore.
Yeah, his first issue published was Prog 170. Right. And that's when he took on, he was basically doing, his first story was actually Rojaw's Robo Tales. So he was doing these one-off stories. I don't think I'm not sure if it was a Future Shock. I think his first one was a Future Shock, Tharg's Future Shocks, which were basically these one-off stories with a twist at the end. And then he did a couple of one-off tales, which is Rojaw's Robo Tales. But the problem with this is that, and this is the other thing, everyone wanted to get their work published in 2000 AD. And he had a number of rejections and rewrites before he got that first one published.
I do like that. Like there is a proper date. It's not just a month. It's a month and a day and a year.
Yeah.
And July 9th, that's my birthday. So I have issue number 20 has my birthday. So like I wonder how many people can see. Look, keep an eye, folks, on the dates. I wonder how many people can find the issue that correlates to your birthday. That'd be cool, wall book.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought of that. I can't go back because I'm a little bit older. But
no,
yeah,
I feel you, but just you'll get the day.
Yeah, it's good. Prog 20, another Brian Boland cover.
Beautiful.
Prog 22, not bagged and boarded. This one's not in great shape, But again, you still get to see, like, you're still getting like
These are hardy books, though. Be fair. These are like these are tanks for books.
Well, the paper covers are generally like, look at that. Like, that's not.
No, I feel you, but like you could shake the shit out of that thing, and it's like not going to come apart.
Yeah. Well, it does. Like, that's
Sure.
they're so flimsy. This is just paper, right? Like, and it's newsprint quality. Look at that. You know.
Yeah,
So
but if you imagine like a Silver Age comic book, the cover around that book is always like that thinner colored paper. But the inside of the comic book, like think of how many Golden Age books are on eBay right now, where they're like, I'm sorry, there's no cover, it's just the interior. All these books are just the interior, so they're like a little hardier than, like they're not chipping. You know what I mean? Like they're just a little beefy.
You want to hold them together, yeah, exactly. So that's up to 28. I don't know why I've got a massive gap there, but I have. But I do have another set here. Let's bring these up. We'll move these out of the way so we can start again.
He's got the double-decker bus in his hand.
Yep, you got the double-decker bus. You got I think this is in is it Trafalgar Square? No, it's not Trafalgar Square.
September 10th. Anybody with a September 10th birthday?
And then we've got The Day the Earth Burned. This is Prog 34, 15th of October, 1977. Again, look at these. Some of these are like really beat up.
Yeah. Tentacle cover. Love that.
Yep. Prog 36. We've passed Prog 25. Oh. Where? Did we miss it? I'm just going to go back just quickly. There's one issue I want to sort of point out. Oh, we don't have it. So I was going to point out Prog 25, which is the launch of Tharg's Future Shocks, which is that format I was telling you about where Alan Moore basically started. Eventually, he was the one that sort of started doing some of those, but there were these one-off stories that got launched in Prog 25. Unfortunately, I don't have that. So back to this. So then we've got Prog 41. And again, you can see these covers, right? They're always dynamic, always crazy.
Yeah. Big sci-fi.
Yeah, massive sci-fi or creepiness or horror or something behind it. I mean, look at this, right? The phone attack.
Yeah, that one's gross.
Alien cover, Prog 43.
Oh, Christmas cover.
This is obviously December 1977. So the Star Wars, you'll notice that they didn't have the rights to it, but they did a whole bunch of advertising. So they would have worked with Lucas and Co in terms of licensing at that point. So they were able to sort of, you can see here the 2000 AD logo's got Darth Vader's TIE Fighter and X-Wing on it. And they did a bit of a photo review. Again, look at the cool logo, the way they've drawn it.
Well, look at the date. So they released this I'm sure they didn't release it on that day, but it's December. It's the Christmas Eve. It's literally.
It would have been in stores on that day.
What? That's when they would have released it?
Yeah, they would have worked all the way up, and they would have had it back.
Okay, so that's like a Christmas Eve Christmas book. That's really cool.
And there you go. They're just using stock photos for the Star Wars feature, and then they had Walter, who was Judge Dredd's companion droid, interviewing R2-D2.
So is this, or how close is this to the first appearance of Star Wars in a British comic book, in a British prog? Like, where does this stand with that distinction?
I think Star Wars 1 was launched in the UK around about the November of 77.
Oh, boo.
I may be mistaken. I need to go back and check.
Regardless, first appearance in a British prog.
Yes, exactly. So they did cover it off. And the fact that you've got this cover, this is O'Neill that drew this. I'm not sure if who's drawn. Yeah, O'Neill drew this, Kevin O'Neill. So then you've got Dan Dare. They're still trying to push Dan Dare at this point, right?
Lame.
He is.
Oh, that reminds me of like a Legion of Superheroes, like 70s cover. They were so noisy. There was so much. I love the Legion, but like that's so hard to understand what's going on at a glance.
Well, it's actually a strip. I think they've actually done this as a strip, so it continues on the second page.
Okay, so in that case, it's cool.
So they have the story, but then they've got all this stuff at the top, and again, they're still trying to jump on the Star Wars bandwagon massively. Like, win a Star Wars LP, everyone would, as you know, in the 70s, like everyone was going nuts for Star Wars. So, unfortunately, I don't have Prog 47 here. That is the launch of The Visible Man, which was a guy called Frank Hart whose skin was made transparent due to nuclear waste. So that we're missing that one.
They gave Dan a lightsaber. They thought They thought Star Wars could save Dan Dare.
Yep.
What are the kids into? Give it to Dan Dare.
Give it that space coffin. So they all went like you could see they all went very space. Here's Thog's Future Shocks. This one is a Brian Boland one. So again, you can see like you get, and another Judge Dredd. Oh, this is one of those in other instances. I should have mentioned this. So this is one where Judge Dredd changes his face to infiltrate a band of crooks, and he reveals his mask. He has his face changed, and that's Judge Dredd under that. But it's not Judge Dredd's
right,
face.
Yeah.
They played with that idea they played with this idea that you would see his face, but you never did.
I love that.
More Dan Dare. So they were really on a Dan Dare tear. Like, look at this. Like, Prog 53, Prog 54. More Dan Dare. So Dan Dare was like the hero of the book, even though Judge Dredd was like massive. Dan Dare.
Tentacle cover. I'll take it.
More Dan Dare in space.
That was cool.
You can see here, we're not going through a drought of Dan Dare.
There we go. That's a cool one.
Yeah, there you go. That's a Scarer cover, I think. But yeah, there's Mega City Beware, Judge is back. So Prog 59. Mac 1 meet Mac 2. Mac 1 was one of the start-off strips in this, like a super-powered, genetically engineered guy that based like a secret agent type thing. Prog 61. Now this is a good one for you, Ricky. This is the start of this was the start of a 6-month epic, right? Literally ran from issue 61 through to 85.
So 24 issues there of Judge Dredd stories,
where basically it's the Cursed Earth storyline, where basically Judge Dredd goes out of Mega City 1 into the radioactive wastelands between the two mega cities.
Okay.
And it's just, massive story. And one of the first where they did these massive long runs where he was like, it was a full on, how's he getting across from Mega City 1 to Mega City 2 and trying to bring order to the Cursed Earth where there's just chaos and mutants and all manner of stuff. So
that's possibly also the first really good Judge Dredd cover. Like that is if we were going to make like a Hulk 181 and you want to say the cover dictates a character's first appearance, I'd say that's the first, like, holy shit, who is this guy? Judge Dredd cover. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so the fact that it kicks off that first story,
he's coming right at you. He's firing all cylinders.
And you can see this is the point where I start to think in 2080 they realized what they were onto, and they really started to amp up the Judge Dredd stories in terms of like bringing him to the fore.
I have to say, I don't know when they started. Maybe it was back in issue 1, but if you can hold it up, the Earth money under 9 pence is hysterical.
Oh yes, they had that.
I love that. When did they start that? I don't know if I noticed that until now, or if it was just like that's the way it's always been. But that's really good.
They had that. This is probably a better example, right? I wonder if you can see it really well. But you would get the 9p Earth money. South Africa 30 cents, New Zealand 30 cents, Malaysia $1, Mercury 17 Gs, Venus 10 Gs, Pluto asteroid belt 20 Gs. So they would do that. They play around a little bit with it.
Oh, that's really good. I really like this next one.
Again, I don't think there's anything super key about this one. But again,
it's a pretty lady
covers, right? Like these covers are just so cool. Again, Judge Dredd. He's in the Cursed Earth at this point, so he's obviously going against the Rats. 64.
I love that next one.
Beautiful cover, right?
I love that because it's on the type of paper that automatically reminds me of like a like what was that Weekly World News with like Bat Boy on it. Yeah. So it has that feel, that like a grocery store tabloid kind of magazine, but also like it's still a comic. I adore that.
So this issue was when Mac 1 was ended. So basically, this whole series stopped. So Mac 1 had been in since issue 1, so it was eventually pulled in this one. They did a spin-off in the 80s, but yeah, it was killed off in this Prog. So, but yeah, I love these covers. There's a couple of newsprint ones coming up that you'll be interested in. Prog 66. So this is still the Cursed War going on. And look at this, like Boland cover, like down Max 0. And then this one's of note. This one's hilarious, right? So we're jumping to 71. So this features a Burger King the Burger Wars story.
Yes, yes.
Let me just pull these.
It's also a cool cover.
So you have this. This is the star of Burger Wars, and that's the second part of Burger Wars. Now these were controversial because basically it starred Burger King and Ronnie McDonald. So they can never be reprinted because of copyright infringement. So getting these, I had to get copies of these because they're just the fact that you've got those characters in there that would not normally be used and can't be reprinted. There's an apology later on that I'll show you as well. But yeah, let's just show you Ronnie McDonald. It's just there you go there, and he looks a little. But yeah, this crazy storyline, and that was the thing that I loved about 2000 AD as well, was that they'd have these super crazy. They would be very much of the time, and would make social comment, but in a really sort of subversive way. They were just they just tried to sort of mix it up a little bit. We've got Digger Jim in the house too. Hey Digger Jim, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. Thank you for the comment on the books. Prog 73. Try and speed up a little bit because we've only got like 20 minutes, right? Prog 75, 76, Robo Hunter. This actually is the first Robo Hunter. So again, another character created by John Wagner. This is a guy called Sam Slade. Yeah. He's like a private detective who specializes in cases related to robots. So crimes committed by robots, investigating what's going on with a robot. So launched in this issue. He eventually gets a robot assistant, which is like the classic sort of trope, cigar smoking robot, very much like Pip the Troll, but in robot form.
See, I like this next one because it reminds me of that DC book where it's Oh Deadly Dark Side, and he's like holding Superman by the cape, and he's like dangling from his hand.
This could be. Maybe when was that published? Because this is like 1978.
Oh man, I'm gonna hold on. Let me look.
I've looked it up, but yeah, this is the second story. This is Soul Food. These two issues here.
Here, set it aside, and then I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. So this is Soul Food. So it's got the Jolly Green Giant on there. The Michelin Man is also in here, right? Okay. And a whole bunch of these sort of characters. So this is like a follow-up to Burger Wars. So you got the Jolly Green Giant. I'm trying to find. You got the Peanuts guy. What's his name? Planters Peanuts. In there.
Okay, so it's they got everybody upset with that.
They got everybody upset. Yeah, there's the Michelin Man there.
Oh, and there's the Colonel.
Yep. So you get Colonel Sanders in there too. It's so.
Okay, so when did that book come out? The one with the cover?
78.
Oh. Reverse the numbers. It's 87 for Oh Deadly Dark Side.
Right. So maybe that is a cover swipe.
Here, I'll show you the full cover so we can let the people decide. Hold it up. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm saying there's an argument to be made.
Pretty close.
And the numbers are swapped. So
is it Brian Boland that cover?
I don't know. Who did the Old Deadly? How do we even find that out?
Yeah, this is a Boland cover. And Boland drew the whole thing. Fascinating. That's something else to add to the mix.
Who did the Oh Deadly Dark Side cover? Oh, here we go. Comic Vine. They have a thing on it. I do love. See, that's what I'm talking about. That next cover.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like it is. It's the Weekly World News with like Batboy on the cover, and like I had an alien's baby, and
yeah, they do. This is I love this one, and this is the second issue of that Soul Food piece. Right. So
no,
again,
that Oh Deadly Dark Side is a Jack Kirby.
Oh, really?
It's a Jack Kirby. So if anybody swiped off Boland, it was Kirby.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating.
I know I'm gonna lose some sleep on that.
So this is Prog 89. This one is the second part of that Soul Food story, right? Where they're using all the characters. So you can't find this one either. It's super hard. It will never be reprinted. Let's put it that way. Unless they get the rights, right?
Right.
But I doubt they're going to get clearance for everybody. Prog 79. Another Dread cover. Still in the Cursed Earth, I think, at this point. Or maybe not, actually. Again, I still have to do a bit of digging in terms of these stories. I just haven't gone through and read them all yet. There's so many of them. Yeah, so he's definitely in the Cursed Earth at this point, right? Because here he is in the Cursed Earth, looking like he's been in the Cursed Earth for so long. In fact, I think this is the climax of the Cursed Earth issues in this one. So that's Prog 85. Prog 84, by the way, I don't have. But that way they put it, they had a apology strip for Burger Wars and Soul Food in that issue. So they
because the UK has pretty like harsh libel laws, or like not a libel, but like copyright in terms of like infringement and stuff.
Yeah, so it would have been especially when you're thinking of an ongoing title. Prog 86. So this is when Steve McManus took over from Gosnell. Basically, this is also where they merged with Star-Lord. So Star-Lord was another magazine that was sort of running concurrently. So they were running Star-Lord in 2000 AD. In Star-Lord, they had Strontium Dog. I don't know if you've heard of Strontium Dog. Johnny Alpha. Nope. He's like a bounty hunter in the future. And then also ABC Warriors. So you can see both of these two sets of characters introduced in here. So Strontium Dog on the left next to Judge Dredd. And then this is the Roadbusters, which is basically Hammerstein and Rojaws. So the one on the left is the character that you see in the Judge Dredd movie with Stallone, but is an adjusted form of him. And then that strip itself then became the ABC Warriors, which is atomic bacterial chemical warriors, like robots that were sent to war.
And when did Judge Anderson show up?
Judge Anderson shows up in issue 150. She shows up basically to counteract Judge Death.
Yeah, she's a psychic. She's kind of like, if you've seen RoboCop, she's the curly-haired lady that hangs out with RoboCop, his partner, except she's psychic. Like a really powerful psychic too.
Yes. Yes, and she's key to that story. Both the first issue of Judge Death's story, and then the second session of the Judge when the Dark Judges arrive. So I mean, without her, I think that that story would have been very different. So they had to have somebody that was able to, I mean, Judge Death takes advantage of her in that first issue by taking over her body, and that's how they trap Judge Death ultimately. But at the cost of her life base. So it's a bit of a depressing story, but then she gets out of it. And I don't want to give too much. Again, it's one of those ones. It was a classic story. If you get a chance, you should read it. So issue 87, nothing too much. Issue 88. Again, busy cover this one, right?
They also stole the Fox Studios logo.
Yep. Redid that. And then Prog 90. So which one's this one? This is Prog 88. And again, I'm missing another one of these key issues. Prog 89 is basically the first story called The Day the Law Died. And it's another one of those 6-month epics where Mega City 1 is taken over by a crazy, insane Chief Judge Cal. based on the Roman Emperor Caligula. And basically, it's a story about how he becomes the chief judge of Mega City 1, and Judge Dredd has to fight to basically reclaim the Mega City 1. We'll just quickly go through these. We've got another 10 minutes. Conscious of your time. We might not get through some of these. I might sort of see if you have a chance, we might do it in sort of installments, because I think 1 to 100 is probably too much to do like a massive sort of run through. So we might just do the first 100, and then if you're free another time, Ricky.
Yeah, sure. Hey, I mean, this is I love seeing these covers.
Prog 91, Prog 92, great Tharg, the Mighty cover. So again, you can see he's always sort of popping up on these books. Flesh still going strong, so
love it.
A lot of reading ahead of you. The aforementioned Judge Caligula says, "Citizens of Mega City 1, I sentence you to death."
Great.
Prog 95. Nice shot of a pilot ejecting into the path of a normal passenger plane. That's going to go well for everyone, I think. And that's 96. Let's just bring up a few more, and maybe we'll... Prog 97. Again, I've got a couple of these. Nothing too notable on some of these at this point. It's not until we get to about 127. Here's another one of these Judge Caligula covers. Again, this is another Brian Boland issue. And you can see here...
Sing while you slaughter. I love that.
So you've got, like, you know, these mutated crocodiles that are under his power, under his control. What else do we have? I'll just move these out of the way. We'll see how far we go in the next 10 minutes, and then we'll call it, I think. And then we'll come back, reconvene. Let's see. So this is 198. This is a Roadbusters story. So you can see here this giant, I think it's Meek Quake. It's this giant truck tank demolishing thing that's a little bit simple. But he's just the most cute. Like, you wouldn't think this gigantic, enormous truck tank thing would have like this lovable sort of personality. But I always liked Meat Quake. It was this sort of, you know, like childlike robot, and was always like the foil of laughter and stuff, but was this massive... It's hard to sort of give you the scale of it. It's this huge... You can see here, like, this is a car. This thing was just... would shift gravel. The whole idea with Roadbusters was that they would go to things... They were like... They would go and save people from mines and things like that. Alien mines and things like that. So... Issue 100. So we got to 100. You get this amazing Judge Dredd poster in here. Part 1.
Oh, from that cool cover. That's awesome.
It was a 4-part, and it would be in... I'll show you. So
they'd give you the parts over posters. Man, they wanted you to butcher these books.
Oh, look at that. So you'd get this... That's part 1. And then for the next 4 issues, you'd get the other parts.
Destroy 4 issues.
Now, luckily, all these 4 issues have the posters in them. So issue 101, 102, 103, all those perfectly intact, all the posters included. 104. Again, another great... I think this is...
See, he's thicker now.
He's starting to be a bit thicker, yes, you're right.
That's a man that eats his protein.
And I'm not sure if this is the... this might not be Brian Boland, but I always get confused. There's this one guy that has the style of those two are very similar, and I always get it mistaken. I'm going to do some digging and sort of just be able to articulate exactly who that other artist is, because he's also quite prolific, and he would do the news strips, because this would also appear in UK newspapers as well. Judge Dredd. So this is Walter, the robot I was talking to you about earlier, Judge Dredd's faithful companion, who Judge Dredd puts up with. More. Call out if you see anything that's interesting. Issue 108.
I like the robot, don't like the faces. I like that one.
Strontium Dog. Yep, so this is Strontium Dog that came over from Star-Lord magazine. So at this point, they're still keeping the Star-Lord title.
Here he is.
There he is. Dan Dare's back. So he's still hanging on. This is the guy that I was talking about. So I think this cover here, where was that Walter one? That one is a Brian Boland cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is a Ron Smith cover. And I sometimes get the two confused. They're very similar in terms of like that fine art style, but Boland's is a bit more, it just has its own sort of style, but they're very similar. Like you can probably see, right? Like the fine lines. That's why I get a bit confused in terms of the two. So, but Ron Smith did a heap of Judge Dredd. Blast into the Past. This is 112.
Oh, that's a cool one.
That's a nice one, right?
And it went up to 10p. When did that change happen?
The change to 10p was back in Prog. Here we go. Prog 83, I think. So, yeah, I mean, they'd creep up. They wouldn't do this like 35 cents, a jump of that big. They'd just go up like 1p.
Dan Dare, the
Robusters. And you can see here now that they're starting to get a bit cleaner in terms of the covers. It's less busy.
Yeah, hasn't been a flesh cover in quite some time.
No, this one's a good one. Do like that cover. Again, Strontium Dog. We talk about non-busy covers. This is when the logo changed. So they dropped. So Star-Lord's still in there, but this is the logo that you would now traditionally usually see with 2008. So that's sort of that rounded. They still have that to some degree, but this is when we go to the Judge Dredd stories, it starts to have Judge Dredd under here as well. Am I lagging a little bit?
You were for a second, not anymore.
So yeah, Moonraker cover. It starts to get a little busier again in terms of what they look like. This is 120.
Yeah, they're adding value by adding words, or that's what they think they're doing.
I think they got their beautiful desktop publishing set up right. They're sort of so they could do a bit more. Again, I'm not so keen on these covers in terms of the style, and I'm glad when they switch back. So there's not that many of these where they're like this. And it's sort of you lose a lot of the story art in these, unfortunately, right? Like it's just very like, oh look, this is a standard magazine rather than 2000 AD. So they start to come back with some of these, right? Like where they start to get less busy. So this is Prog 125. Let's pull this up, and then Prog 125. They move to. They then merge with another magazine called Tornado. So previously it had Star-Lord. Now it's 2000 AD and Tornado. So this is 128.
So they're just like eating up other publication companies.
Well, they're eating up books that weren't successful on their own magazines.
Okay. So does Tornado still exist, but they're just buying certain characters, or did they like buy them out?
They subsume, they merge the book into this.
So it's like a Captain Marvel DC kind of situation, where like Captain Marvel was Fawcett Comics, and then DC just ate him.
No, so this is they had a book running in their own publishing, and then they would subsume it in. So Star-Lord, my understanding, Star-Lord was IPC's, and because it wasn't successful, they just brought the book in, and they did that They did that a lot with UK magazines, UK comics. Marvel UK did it a number of times. Like they bring in a title like Planet of the Apes, then moved over to Mighty World of Marvel, things like that. So they would consolidate their books, but then keep the title running for like 2 or 3 months, so that actually they kept the readership. So they built up the readership of the existing magazine. So they never lost the viewers, or never lost the readers. Prog 129. Nothing in there that's massive. Prog 130. So I think 130 doesn't mention anything. Again, chat, if you know anything or see anything, please leave a comment. Let us know. Am I missing something in this list? Because I'm going to be building out a better sort of narrative in terms of each of these stories and giving some sense of what happens in each book. But this is just
now it's 12p. They gone up another 2.
Yep. 1979. This one, 132. Let me just go back. I'm pretty sure I've missed something here. Maybe not. I was thinking there was a... This is a funny one because I'm pretty sure this is one of those key issues for another character called Nemesis the Warlock. And I think this is a guy called Torquemada, but I might be wrong. I'd have to go and check this. But this character is quite key because it's that series went on to run for years as well. So Nemesis the Warlock, which was this crazy car / creature that could race through these sort of boom tubes. This was a good cover. Zorgon was an alien race. This is when they were voted #1 comic by Eagle Awards.
That's cool.
Yep. So Judge Dredd on the front, Brian Boland cover. So they were winning awards at this point as well. Judge Dredd, top best character. And then they kept the Eagle Award winner on the side here for however long they kept going.
Brag about it.
Yep. We're almost at time, Ricky. Maybe we'll cut this at 150 and then what do you think?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do like a wrap up.
136, 137.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
38. Tread for feet.
Yeah, I think this is a ABC Warriors. Yep. So they started ABC Warriors at this point. Prog 139. Star Trek the motion picture was out, so they did a cover on that. I think what's this one? This is 141. So in 140, this is 140. They launched. Have you ever heard of the stainless steel rat?
No.
So it was a series of novels by a guy called Harry Harrison. Basically, it's a galactic thief called Slippery Jim DeGriz. So this kicked off in this book. It ran. They had the rights to sort of adapt the novels, so they turn up in these books, which is why you're seeing stainless steel rat here. 142. I'll tell you what we'll finish off with. This is with a perfect end, actually.
That's a cool monster.
Yeah, 142. 143. This is a good one because you've got this amazing cover based on the Close Encounters. Like a poster cover.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, another reason to tear your book apart.
Yep.
Another Christmas cover. They have Christmas covers.
This is 29th of December. So they had, this again, it's funny to see when this comes out. 146, and you'll see why I want to end at 150, 149, 150. 147, 148.
That's a cool one.
Yeah,
that's a really cool one. That's a t-shirt.
I think this one has been printed as a t-shirt. This is one of the
I think I have seen that as a t-shirt, which is why I said it. But yeah, that's a t-shirt.
All right, then this one. I think I showed this in a previous short, right? 149. You want this book.
Judge Death.
Judge Death first appearance. So this is a nice one to end on. This one's a beautiful looking copy. I haven't submitted it. I should get it in. But yeah, 149 is the launch of Judge Death. So the rationale behind Judge Death, right, was basically John Wagner thought that all they were doing with Judge Dredd was he was just shooting people, and he had no long-term villain, right? So they came up with Judge Death. Basically, he's an undead judge from another dimension where life itself is judged a crime. And so basically their goal as judges is to just kill everybody that is alive, which is a fundamental and forces Judge Dredd to sort of question his own morals and standards, because obviously not everyone is going to commit crime who is alive. So 150. This is the perfect, as I say, the perfect 3 to finish on for you. You were talking about Judge Anderson. This is the first appearance of Judge Anderson. Issue 150. And you see here, this is why it was so critical, because Judge Death she's able to sort of channel Judge Death, but then Judge Death takes her over. And that's issue 150.
That's awesome. So so while you're packing up, what's the plan? Are you putting together a set for you? Are you putting together a set to sell? Are you putting together a set of keys? What's the end game?
So the end game is the idea being is to build a one full set for me, and it's probably going to be 1 to 4, 500 with some additional books like that Dead Man story I talked to you about, because they were key to me and books that I read as I was growing up. And then the extras, I'm like, again, I've got a few ideas. The likelihood is I'll be giving some away to certain people, because it's almost like I want to be able to sort of spread the love in terms of these books, and give people a bit of a view in terms of these storylines. I've already started going through, Ricky, and this is my underpile at the moment. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of duplicates here. So the idea being is that, I'm not really going to go and try and sell. Like some of the keys I might try and sell, right? But for the vast majority of it, I want to sort of be able to sort of pull together these mini runs and share the love, really. Like that's the big idea. Like, and again, depending on the quality of a book as well. But my ultimate goal is to just build that big collection out, get that right, so at least I can refer to it, grade the ones I think are worth grading, and then everything else is fair game. Realistically, it's like I want people to enjoy it, and I'd love people to sort of get a sense of what these books are about, because I think in the US there's not many people that will have seen these. People in the UK love them, right? But I think in the US and over here in Australia as well, same thing, right? Like there's a lot of expats over here. They still love the books too, and it's really hard to get them shipped because they are not light. And like we just went through a massive pile, and we've only done half of what the issue 1 to 3. Like then they're super heavy. So that's the plan. That's the plan.
Because for audience members that don't know, David made the mistake of saying that he wanted my Swamp Thing, and I'm like now incessantly bugging him about trying to get a couple of the keys because they're just obnoxious to buy. They're obnoxious to find. They're really overblown in prices on eBay. And then like the higher, because it's like the market's being set by the people with the highest copies, and like the smaller copies, like when they do go, they're just so expensive for like real shitty copies, but like it's what we have available to us in the US. So like I want to get that first appearance, Judge Dredd, Anderson, and then like probably Judge Death. If that's like his like nemesis, then like probably those 3 books is what I'm looking to get.
Yeah. And look, I think that's it's all doable. Like for me, it's about these characters. I know, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on, because I want to. It's not just those characters. Like once you start digging, this is one of those rabbit holes that when you start digging, you suddenly realize like these Alan Moore stories, and realizing Alan Moore was like part of this cadre of characters that were creating these books. You suddenly start to realize the caliber of the people. Like if you've got Brian Boland sketching and drawing your comics, like in the late 70s, 80s, and look at where he is now, and look how prolific he is. It's stunning the amount of talent that was in these books, and I think that's the critical piece, right? Like it's you'll start with those characters, but you'll quickly move on and realize some of these stories are just astounding in terms of it's so not known in the US. Like other than the reprints.
And I'm intrigued by these flesh characters, this flesh cover. I think those are really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, look, I'm looking at that House of Secrets too, and doing the same that you're doing from the other side.
I mean, you're the one with all the copies. You're the one that pretty much sets the terms. I paid $1,000 for it. It's about like right now, if you were trying to get it, it's like $1,500. But like, I mean, the longer you wait, we're getting closer to the movie.
We'll work something out.
Yeah, I definitely want to get some dreads.
I'm sure, but look, as I say, let's do this again because we're only at 150.
Sure. We'll go
and
through
then
the whole thing.
It gets super interesting at 3. Like I was going through the list yesterday. 150 is where it really starts to pick up in terms of the characters that start to drip in, and hopefully there'll be characters that you recognize. And there are other characters that are coming to movies that a lot of people don't know. Rogue Trooper's one of them.
Yeah, I know that name, Rogue Trooper.
Yeah, so Rogue Trooper will be coming, and again, that's another one that sort of turned up in these like 150 to 300. So
yeah, I've recently gotten into the indie stuff, a lot of it, like across, and a lot of the European indie stuff. Like I got that Smurfs one,
yes,
Belgian. I got I just like JUST, like it's any day now. The Tank Girl, first Tank Girl, Deadline one.
Is that on its way to you now? Is that?
Oh, I mean, it could be in the mail. Like, you know what? Let me check my phone. It literally might be in the mailbox.
Wow.
It was really, really, really cheap. Let's see if it said delivered.
So who was Tank Girl's creator again? Was it Alan Moore? It wasn't Alan Moore, right?
It said it was in Massachusetts, which is a state beneath me, on Friday, January 26th. So yesterday. So it could be in probably Monday. And then who invented Tank Girl? I know his name. It's the same guy that did the art for the Gorillas, that band that it's always animated.
James.
It's that same dude. Tank Girl.
It's Jamie.
Jamie Hewlett.
Jamie Hewlett, yeah.
Yeah, but like the British like post-apocalyptic, everything fell apart, characters and universe and stuff like that, like, and like these like bombastic personalities, like, you know, before Harley Quinn was Harley Quinn, you know, Tank Girl walked so Harley Quinn can run.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing, and this is the beauty of these books, right? They're just so, they give you that they are those characters. Yeah. Like they're all futuristic, it's all dystopian, it's all like, but there's this hope that runs through them all, but they're all like crazy. They're all like extreme. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. Judge Dredd walked so that the Punisher could run.
Well, ironically, though, that's probably not true because Judge Dredd came after Punisher, right?
But was Punisher the character that we know him now, or did Punisher evolve into the personality of Judge later?
Yeah, true. Very true.
Great.
All right. Well, Ricky, look, thanks for joining. It's been good. It's been so much fun.
We'll do it again.
I've enjoyed it. As I say, there's so much information out there that needs to be uncovered, and we'll be coming back to this again, I'm sure. And once I get a bit more information as well around some of these books, I'll pull out some specific keys and sort of take you through it. But yeah, love you to join us again next time.
For sure.
You and the audience. It's been fun. Any questions, any comments, please hit that like button, and hopefully now the little like button will flash up like it's supposed to. And then go to Ricky's channel, All Sorts of Words. He's got this. Do you want to talk about your championship that's coming up?
Yes, I'm doing it. It's so silly, but I've decided to do a YouTube wrestling show where every week I bring on 2 YouTube content creators to be whatever they want. Their direction is their imagination. As long as it's not like gross. Like, I'm prolapsed anus man. Ew. But like, you know, like the directions their imagination, go to town. I have as little or as much input as the individual wants. And then we put 2 wrestlers against each other. I film it and I edit it. And then what you see is them answering comic book prompts with books in their collection. So I'll say a word like betrayal, for example, is coming out of the first episode. And, you know, go to your collection. What do you have that speaks to you that addresses that word? And then at the end of every episode, immediately as it airs, you can go over to the All Sorts of Words community page and then vote on who you think won each answer. And then I kind of do the filmmakery thing where I film everybody's victory speech and defeat concession. And so then I don't even know what's going to happen. So then when your votes come in the following week, when the new match happens, it's going to begin with the results of last week's match. So there's like a rolling week over week fun thing. Everybody gets to participate. Like, I am not going to decide who wins. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not even going to vote. So it's completely community led, and it's going to be really fun. The first episode is going to drop on Monday.
So it's at All Sorts of Words, right, Ricky?
Yeah, it's just the channel. If you just Google in YouTube, just type in All Sorts of Words. You can follow me there. Instagram, I'm at Ricky Cadabra, just like it sounds, like abracadabra, at Ricky Cadabra. But yeah, it's going to be really fun. David's going to be participating. Everybody that I know that and here's the thing, I'm talking to a lot of creators right now, and they're jazzed on the idea because they have imaginations, and you probably have an imagination too, so you're picturing it. But a lot of the bigger names are going to see what we're doing, and they're going to be like, oh, that looks fun, because everybody that's been doing it so far has been having a lot of fun. So it's going to be a wild time.
I have to say, Ricky, it's one of the things I was thinking about it yesterday or the day before. And obviously we're having our discussion about potential future matches at the moment, right?
Yes.
And I was like counting my blessings and saying, thankfully, I'm doing it early, because there's so many, seeing the people and the personas they've come up with already. There's a lot of the people are going to run out of runway very quickly. And
well, so what I had one person come to me and say, like, look, I've got like 6 different ideas and I'm narrowing it down. Like, what do you think? And I was like, literally, like, you're only doing I'm only one man, so I'm only doing 1 episode a week. So the likelihood of characters even coming back, it would be weeks before you would come back if you did a show. So like, if you wanted to wait 6 weeks and change your character, do it. Who cares? Because what I do is I make it clear that, like, from still only 35 cents, the YouTube channel is, and then, swing in dick or whatever it is you want to be. But like, so I make it clear. So it's, you allow yourself to then like link to your channel without having to make your character your channel's theme. Yes. So if you want to be a cowboy one week, it's still your channel that's getting promoted. If you want to be a wizard the next time, which maybe you don't want to be a wizard, because spoiler alert, we have someone coming on who is the wizard. They get their big beard and their cloak, and they're doing the whole thing. It's pretty great. So we've already got a lot of really big personalities coming out of it, but it's going to be wild.
Looking forward to it. And when's the first one scheduled?
Monday, this coming Monday, sometime like probably in the morning or around lunchtime. YouTube numbers, they give us the analytics as creators. Like, this is when people are watching, so I'll probably want to have it up by like 11 or something. Okay.
Well, I will make sure to put a link in the description below so that everyone gets to go and see it. I'll put links to your Instagram as well. So go to the show, cheer on the contenders. And
yeah, our first contenders are the Hunter and the Undergrader. It's exactly what you're thinking.
It's exactly what you're thinking. And I saw that intro video and thought it was very well done and very cool. So funny.
Yeah, if you like the intro video, you'll know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ricky, thank you very much. Thanks for joining tonight, for your time. Always great to see you. And everyone out there, thanks for joining as well. If you love these books, leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe, both to Still Only 35 Cents and All Sorts of Words. And until we see you next time, take care. Bye, everyone.